I'm not saying you're stupid. I'm saying your opinions are bad, and that makes you stupid. That's all I'm
my opinions are bad. Oh, okay.
Yes, because you're so wrong. You don't understand. The thing is, you don't understand nuance in gaming.
Nuance,
and storytelling.
Please. Are you kidding? That ending's putting a hat
just
on a
because
hat.
there's not a fucking princess in a castle to go say somewhere. Let's talk about characters with agency for a little bit here in a game.
They're beating you over the head with their
points.
They're
beating you over the head with it.
Beating you over the head.
How about I beat you over the head in a real... Sometimes people don't agree on things, and that's okay. We're talking about Bioshock Infinite. What's up, everybody? Welcome to 3VO, where we're all on the same team. I'm your host today, Jordan.
And I'm the other one, Brendan.
And if you're new here, we are just two big old nerds that absolutely love video games and love talking about them. So if you two are like us and just love video games so much that you just have to yell about it sometimes, this is definitely the place for you. As usual, we're going to start off with our patch notes and check in with everything. So, Brendan, how are we doing?
I'm doing good.
This is a hard tone shift from the beginning. I just realized, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a real hard switch.
That was, of course, staged and very silly.
Very silly.
Because we adore each other and respect each other's opinions. But this is a game that we're going to be talking about today that we disagree a little bit on.
It might get heated. today.
I don't think it will.
I don't think it'll get heated. Not like... I mean heated for us. Like heated for this show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is what I mean.
Yeah. Which is to say, we'll go, I disagree with you, and the other one will go,
well, I disagree with you. And that'll be it.
And that'll be it.
And that'll be it.
Yeah.
That'll be it.
I'm doing okay, though. So, as I've talked about previously, I started quiz mastering.
Mm-hmm.
I've done 3 weeks of it so far, and it's a blast. It's so fun.
Awesome.
And it's something I get paid to do. It's great. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I enjoy a thing, and I'm getting paid for it.
That's
a
weird.
Wild concept, I know.
That doesn't add up.
I
that
know.
Doesn't sound
really,
right. Something seems fucking sus there.
In this economy?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so I've been doing that. I'm also 3.5 weeks out from 3 weeks, 2 days. 3 weeks and 2 days out from the wedding.
Exciting.
I'm so excited. But also COVID's rearing its ugly head again.
I know, it sucks.
And I'm just trying not to think negatively, but I'm just waiting for our cruise to get canceled.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, so...
Which if it needs to, it still sucks, but if it needs to, it needs to. It'd be better to be safe. And
just didn't want to be, like all of the other adults in my life that, got married and then didn't have a honeymoon.
Yeah.
I wanted to beat the statistic,
You wanted to be the one that made it out.
I did. So they haven't canceled it as of yet, but it could happen. I'm still waiting.
You're still waiting to hear the official,
exactly.
Yeah.
But from I'm hopeful because what we've been getting stuff from the cruise line.
Mm-hmm.
It all seems to be pretty much hunky dory.
Okay.
Going. And one of the things that we have going for us is that all of the really bad COVID outbreaks that are occurring on cruise lines are out on the Florida side of things.
Yeah, which is fair.
So we have that going for us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, we're obviously going to be really safe while we're on the cruise.
Yeah, obviously.
We're going to a whole other country, and we're going to be in a fucking box, a floating box, with a bunch of other people for an extended period of time.
Yeah,
so we're not going to be stupid, and we're going to self-isolate when we get back for a time. But we still want to go.
Yeah, obviously, I get you.
But other than that, yeah, all of my time goes to working, my 2 jobs.
Yes.
And finishing the planning for this wedding, and trying not to stab my eyeballs out with worry.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was where did that part come into play exactly?
Just the anxiety of it all.
Okay, no, fair enough. I get
it. Because it's a lot.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah, but it's okay. I'm doing all right.
I got
How about you?
I've been doing good, honestly. It's been a pretty good couple of weeks for gaming. I don't know if I mentioned it on here yet, but I finally upgraded to the new Xbox. I got the Series S, which I love. It's such a sleek, cute little system that just fits perfectly in my little cubby, and I love how it looks in there. Runs so much better than my Xbox One was doing.
Fast.
Especially with just how old my Xbox One was. It was getting to the place where like games that I've played on it multiple times, it was starting to lag out, and I was like, I know you can handle this. Like this is not a good sign. Did have. Again, I don't know if I mentioned it here, but I did have a little bit of a temper tantrum at one of my games.
Oh, yeah?
Well, it was... I don't like it when games make it difficult to play the game, if that makes sense. So I think I mentioned it on here before, was that when I first downloaded Halo Infinite, when it dropped, it said it downloaded the game. And I'm not much of a multiplayer guy, so I went in to start playing the campaign.
Sure.
Went in, turns out I have to download the campaign separately.
Oh, I see.
Once you get into the game. So it was just like... And it's a game. It's something like 30 fucking gigs. So it's not like a little thing to add on to, attach to it.
Gotcha.
So did that when I had my Xbox One. Didn't think about it when I booted up the Series S.
Right.
And was just like, cool, now I get to play it, because it works on the Xbox One. It was made to be played on the newer Xbox. So I was like, sweet, get to play this game how it was meant to be played. Loaded it up, hit to continue campaign. Must download the thing again. Like... I was just like, why don't you want me to play you? Like, why don't you want me to play this game? I don't understand. So we're currently just a little mad at Halo Infinite right now. So, but also finally started playing Resident Evil Village, which was the last Resident Evil game that came out. It's really cool, a lot of fun. I haven't beaten it yet because I got to a point in the game where it's basically lights turn off and they come back on. The character goes, "Where are my guns?"
Uh-oh.
And then I opened up a cubby and it was just completely empty. And I went, "Oh no!" And I stepped inside of it and I closed the door behind me. And then the character started going, and I was like, "Oh no, we're in some Outlast shit."
Well, I was gonna say
I'm not doing this right now.
I was gonna say full Outlast mode.
Not doing this right now, but full Outlast mode with Resident Evil game mechanics. So I was just like, can't do, nope, I'm good, thank you. We're gonna take a break from this right now and then switch to the Guardians of the Galaxy game, which is, we are going to need to talk about that game on this podcast. Yeah. It's such a good game.
I watched Garrett, our editor, play it through it, and it just looks like such an uproariously good time.
It's such a blast. The characters are done so well. It's just different enough from like the movies. Like it's familiar. It's clearly Guardians, but it's like there's a slightly different take on like Star-Lord. The character interactions are a little bit different, but it's still like, it still has the spirit there, which I really appreciate. And the gameplay is just, I mean, it's Square Enix. Like at this point, they know what the fuck they're doing. So
plus, I feel like it, from what I could see, it didn't take itself very seriously, which is also nice.
Yeah, not super
like it
seriously.
did and it didn't. Like on some aspects, it's like, okay, you're a bunch of space heroes running around, and there's like an 80s song playing, backing you up.
Oh yeah,
while you kick all these guys' asses. Like it's silly.
There's a literal mechanic in the game where it's like you can build up to what's called a team huddle.
Right, and you huddle up with your.
You literally pull everybody in and you give like an inspiring speech. And the moment I knew I loved it was I did that in the middle of fighting a giant space monster thing. Right. And then when we came out, I Need a Hero was playing, and I was just like, I'm in. This game has me. This is so well done. Yeah.
Right. And that's something you could only get away with in a Guardians game.
Absolutely.
You know, like, that's the only place where that tone works.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, having an absolute blast with that right now. Yeah. So, thoroughly enjoying playing that.
Nice. I picked up, on a whim, was like, I'm gonna play Skyrim some more. And so I downloaded and played Skyrim because it's free on the Game Pass. And plus, now all of the mods are like supported by the act. Like
my buddy was telling me about playing it again with all the mods and stuff. He's got a lightsaber.
What?
Oh yeah, he's running off the lightsaber.
That's really great. Now. I went for the like functional stuff. Like, oh, give me the free house, and give me I can craft things that make my inventory space bigger. And
right.
Allow me to wear more than one ring on my fingers.
Right.
Like, things like that, very fun.
Oh, no.
But such an improvement. And there's like graphics patches.
Yeah. And he was telling me he made it look gorgeous. Like,
it
absolutely
looks
gorgeous.
like a whole new game.
Right.
Like night and day.
Yeah.
So that's been really fun to pick up.
I need to do that again at some point. I've been meaning to do another run on Skyrim because it is a really fun game. But it is one that, like, when it came out, I played the absolute shit out of it.
Oh, same.
Similar to like when the Legendary Edition for Mass Effect came out, I was like, I just played these for the podcast, so I think I'm going to take some time for a while.
Yeah,
but it's been a few years on Skyrim, so yeah, throw that back on again.
Yeah, it had run quite a while for me too. But you just pick it right back up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now that all that's out of the way, don't bother ringing the bell because the gloves are already off. We are here to talk about probably the game that we agree the least on, Bioshock Infinite. If you don't know, quick plot synopsis, Bioshock Infinite is the story of one Booker DeWitt who was traveling to the fictional city of Columbia. That is a city that exists in the sky with the simple task to bring us the girl and wipe away the debts. If you don't know this game, major alert for spoilers ahead right now. We're going to be talking about everything, including and extensively the ending of this game. In case you haven't guessed it, the reason why that we are talking about this game in particular is because this is probably the game that me and Brendan agree the absolute least on. Of all the games that we've done, we butt heads on this game the absolute most.
And not because I don't think it's a good game.
Yes.
But I have problems. I have problems.
No, for sure. And on the replay, part of what I did with the structure of this episode was I wanted to make sure that we both had to highlight certain aspects for ourselves.
No,
like
absolutely.
I had to look for things that I think are that aren't good in this game, and you had to look for things that are positive in this game.
Yeah.
But I mainly want to talk about this because I wanted to because there's so much discourse within the gaming community. I kind of wanted to highlight the fact that it's like you could disagree about something, and it's okay. Absolutely. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make them not your friend. Absolutely. It's fine. So, without further ado, let's just fucking get into talking about this thing. There's no stalling anymore. We gotta just talk about this game.
Yeah. So where do you want to start?
I would just like to start with the fact that I guess we just start with the fact that I am unabashedly a huge fan of this game, and no matter how we talk about this today, you are not going to get me to change my mind.
That's fine. That's fine.
And I'm assuming same going for you.
Yeah. No, I'm not here to change your mind. Maybe open your eyes a little bit to understand. And I hope that my eyes are equally opened to your side of things.
Got you. Yeah. Here's hoping.
Because most of our conversations prior about this game have been like, I think it's trash. You don't think it's trash.
Yeah.
We disagree.
Well, I wouldn't even say that. I don't even think you've ever flat out said it's kind of like I think this game is trash.
No, I'm being hyperbolic.
No, for sure.
But like I'm just saying like
there's
it's been very surface level conversations.
Yeah, there's definitely one area of this game that you and I disagree on the most in terms of like how to talk about this game.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Then I think we just start from just jump in and just kind of start from the beginning of the game, I guess, and just kind of start from there and see where it takes us from there. So like a lot of stuff, very much in line with the very, very first Bioshock game, which is it's from the same director who did the same creative director who did the first Bioshock game. For those who don't know, Ken Levine is a creative director for video games. He wrote and directed stuff for the first Bioshock game. Was not there for the second one, but then came back to do stuff for Bioshock Infinite. But mostly because he came back because he was like, I have an idea for another Bioshock game that I really want to do. So just totally, it's very, very similar to the first Bioshock game, which is why there was some, just to go into a little bit of the background of the game here a little bit too, why I know there was some issues early on in the development process, because they got like 50% way through making a game to the point at which they released footage and a demo for the game, and then he came in and was kind of like, nope, it's too similar to the original game. I want to change everything about this pretty much, minus the setting and like the characters and like the overall goal and whatnot. It was I read an article where a guy who did level design for Bioshock Infinite, and it was like one of his first gigs, basically was just kind of like, yeah, everything is like super easy now after working on Bioshock Infinite.
Dang. Everything's a walk in the park compared to that.
It was like, that shit was easy. And this is all also coming from Ken Levine's own admittance, where he's kind of like, oh yeah, I don't know how to do like a pipeline. I don't know how to organize developers. Like, that's not I'm a director. I'm a creative artist through and through. I don't know how to do any of that shit.
Yeah.
So the fact that they put me in charge of all that was a mistake.
At least he can say that.
At least he can admit that.
Yeah.
And just to go into it, I have to admit that there are a lot of glaring issues with this game. Just like there's some environmental stuff, there's some shit like mechanically in the game that gets a little samey, and just I don't know. I guess let's start with like first impressions when you first played the game, if you can remember, because this is going back a few years.
Oh yeah, no, it's been a while. Since I played it through the first time.
Right.
But I remember thinking like, wow, this is so cool because it feels so different but familiar to Bioshock, and I really appreciated that this time through too.
Yeah.
Thinking like the atmosphere is really different. I mean, being above the clouds versus being underwater,
right?
Naturally, very, very different. But there were things that made it familiar, like the way that your HUD looked, the way that things like popping up looked, the way that you would like investigated containers, sound effects. You know, there was a lot of like the skeleton was there.
Oh yeah,
that made it feel like I'm playing Bioshock. Yeah. It's just a new skin, kind of.
Yeah.
So I remember feeling that definitely, and that being one of the things that I appreciated is like, wow, you can do a lot more with like the atmosphere now that we're above the clouds because. Let's be honest, in Bioshocks 1 and 2, the atmosphere of the game is pretty much like, it's dark, it's damp, it's gloomy, and that's about all you get. It's kind of monotone, but being up in, like, the Cloud City, you can have, like, you know, dark patches, you can have play with light and dark, you can have, you know, all of these buildings that you can go in and out of. Like, there was just a lot more. It was more expansive.
There's something I like about it, too, was that it doesn't take its environment in terms of, like, things being realistic. There's a section where it's that... Don't remember what it's called, but it's kind of like their take on like I guess it would be like the KKK kind of, but it's the House of like the Crows. It's that whole thing you go into, because it's where you first introduce the guys who give you the murder of crows figures and whatnot with the casket on their backs and whatnot,
right?
And they like they idealize John Wilkes Booth and all this stuff and whatnot. So that's what I mean when I make like the KKK comparison. But there's something cool that I realized in this when I was playing through it as I approached the actual like building, like fog came into the environment and everything got really dark. But then if I backed up away from it, everything got really bright and like colorful again. And I was kind of like, I love it. They're not even trying to pretend like this is realistic. This is great. I love that.
Something I noticed too, like getting like into the city. I don't know why it didn't occur to me the first time through, but I'm just realizing it now. Like, you got off the rocket, and you have to go through this, like, temple. You're, like, forced to go through it and see all of this, like, religious propaganda, basically. And, like, you have to walk through this, like, water-filled channel type thing.
Yeah.
And then there's, like, feasibly always somebody there that's, like, gotta get baptized now, come here, and, like, dunks you.
Yeah.
Like, which happens in the game, you know, and there's, like, a little gathering of people, but, like... That must have been everyone's experience.
Yeah, that's everyone who goes up to Columbia.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently.
That's nutty.
Yeah. I think ultimately, no matter what, there's a lot of really interesting themes explored in this game, which I think is really, really cool to do in a game, especially because, like, I feel like this is a lot of stuff that you would see. You would totally, because, like, especially now with media, like, you've got Handmaid's Tale, Man in the High Castle, like, a lot of this stuff normally gets explored in other media, but, like, to see a very politically driven video game, especially playing through it now in this environment, the story hits a little differently right now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a little bit different than it was in 2013.
Yeah, in 2013 you just played it kind of like, well, thank God this shit would never happen, and now you're kind of like, Right,
and it's like, it was like hyperbolic in 2013, but now it's like...
Ken Levine is sitting there, someone going like, how the fuck did I nail it? How did I nail this shit on the head?
Trump's Columbia.
Yeah. Well, it was the same thing with, like, I brought it up, it was the same thing with The Handmaid's Tale. The writer for the original, like, books had to come on and be like, I didn't know I was going to guess this shit, guys. My bad. Like, sorry. But I guess we should go ahead and just sort of, just kind of keep going along here with the story of the game. So we talk about the beginning, which I think the beginning does a really interesting thing of just like setting up the tone for the game. But then also sort of, I don't know. It's weird because it starts off, like you said, there's the parallels that are there that are obviously very, very intentionally of that, just like from Bioshock 1 to Infinite. You start off, you don't know why you're there, but you're going towards a lighthouse. You get given this very simple message of bring us the girl, wipe away the debt. But in terms of like revealing stuff to you, it's slowly brought out as like Booker starts going through Columbia and is looking for Elizabeth and whatnot. Just for that, you're also looking for this young girl named Elizabeth, and that's all you know. Gotta find her and bring her to New York. That's all you've got.
Well, you've had a little flashback too to like Booker's like real quote unquote life too at that point, right? You've had like a little flashback, that first flashback. I feel like you have.
When does the first flashback
It's
come
right
into
after the
play?
baptism. That's when it is.
You're right. Yeah.
You plop down on Columbia. You get through the like temple-y bit, and then there's a priest that's like, well, you gotta get baptized if you want to go into Colombia, and that's not how he sounds. And so he baptizes you.
There's an old coal miner waiting there to baptize you, as is the tradition in Colombia.
But so he baptizes you, and then he's like, oh, that's not enough, and he dunks you some more, and then you like drown a little bit.
He like drowns you pretty much.
He like drowns you pretty much.
Yeah.
And then you have that first flashback, and it's like a black and white flashback, very to his like office, and you can see that Booker DeWitt is like an investigator of some kind, and there's like
private investigator.
There's a person banging on his door that's saying, "Bring us the girl, wipe away the debt."
Yeah.
And then you open the door and you see a flaming New York City, and then he wakes back up.
That's right. I forgot about the part where you see the hint of just like the New York City up in flames and whatnot.
All ties in later.
All comes in later on. Yeah.
So you've had that flashback and you've got a little bit of a glimpse into like what the whole deal is. But it's also further confusing because that's not what that character experienced exactly, as far as figuring out, oh, I'm going to go on this job, get this girl, and bring her back to New York City.
Yeah.
So
it does fall into the, just like, if we're going to bring up some issues with the game, it does kind of fall into an issue that I feel like a lot of things that deal with time travel fall into, is that at a certain point, your story gets very hectic, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
And see, okay, yes, I agree with you, but counterpoint to that.
Sure.
Coming off of Bioshock 1 and 2, I took that, at least like in the first playthrough, not to be so much like time travel fucky, more memory fucky, because that's one of the things in Bioshocks 1 and 2.
That is true.
So I was like, oh, clearly like memories are being altered or changed or whatever. That was my take on it.
Oh, you're right.
Which in a way they are, but not for the same reasons.
I love this game. I've played this game so many times. I've never picked up the parallels on the memory shit between the games. Yeah. Why didn't I ever pick up on that shit? Why do I've played the DLC for this game that ties into Bioshock 1.
There's always a man. There's always a lighthouse.
Yeah.
And his memory always gets fucked with.
You were watching me in real time, realize that I'm an idiot.
No,
like,
you're
holy
not.
shit.
No, you're not.
That's such a glaring thing to, like, miss to me. Anyway.
Okay, so we were talking about the story. So, yeah. You find out that, like, there's more going on than you think, but the character kind of brushes it off and is like, I'm gonna go get Elizabeth, gonna get this girl, and she's in this big tower that's like a statue, like a golden statue.
A giant golden
angel statue.
Almost like it looks like you would put it on top of a Christmas tree.
Almost.
Yeah.
But big enough to hold like a whole house in there for her.
Basically
and
like a whole...
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a whole area where she gets experimented on. They siphon the powers out of her and whatnot. There's a lot of stuff
completely unbeknownst to her.
Unknown to her, which is that whole section where you break her out and she realizes that people have been like watching her and shit. So heartbreaking.
So good.
If there's one thing I think that we can agree on, is that Elizabeth is a great character.
I agree.
Wonderful fucking character.
Yeah, absolutely. No. And seeing her kind of grow and like seeing her arc throughout the game,
that story arc is
really
great.
Cool and really rewarding.
That story arc is great. Literally watching just like naive child like grow into just like...
Well, not so naive. Pretty clever.
Well, she's very, very clever, but like, I mean, naive in that sense of like, kind of, there's a great moment that to me encapsulates it when they're going through when they're trying to get a ticket for like a blimp to get out of Colombia and whatnot. And they essentially they almost get caught into a trap by a bunch of the agents for Zachary Comstock. And they start shooting him, and Booker has to kill a bunch of people. And there's that part where they get on the blimp, and she's just like, I can't believe you just killed everybody. And Booker has to kind of stop and be like, did you think you were just going to walk out of Colombia and nothing was going to happen? Why do you think you've been in that damn tower? I just mean, like, I'm not trying to imply that I think that she's like not... I don't mean that I think Elizabeth is stupid.
No.
In any way.
I see what you're saying now. More inexperienced.
Inexperienced and naive to the world at large is what I mean.
Yeah. Real clever kid, though.
Oh! Smart as a fucking whip. Like, don't get me wrong.
Absolutely. You know something I noticed too? One of the mechanics for Elizabeth is that she'll like unlock saves and doors and things throughout the game if you like activate the item.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like that seems kind of clunky. Like that's kind of like a random thing to give to a kid. But then I was thinking about it. The way you break her out is through this big security door that you needed a key to open. So like Of course she was sitting there trying to figure out how to pick that
She
lock.
has spent her entire time trying to figure out how to get out of this tower.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, that's brilliant, actually.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a cool way that they kind of, I think, integrated and layered, like, here's this gameplay mechanic that we can make fit into the story really well, too.
Yeah, and make it work in there, too. Since I brought him up, we should also go over our main villain, which is...
Comstock.
Which is Zachary? Zachary Comstock?
Zachary Hale Comstock.
Zachary Hale Comstock, who is called the Prophet of Columbia. He basically runs this entire city over there. And it's a fairly standard villain in terms of like the... I would say the next comparison for me, I don't think you've seen it, but it's Michael Parks' character from Red State, just like the staunch religious, like, we go by what we interpret the text as saying, and that's the rule of law, and that's what our society is based on, and that's it. But he's also hailed as this great prophet because he was given the vision of Columbia from an angel, supposedly, and everything he says is based around like how they're gonna spread their word of like gospel to the rest of the world, and Elizabeth is the kind of like the linchpin in order to make that a reality and whatnot.
They call her the Lamb.
Yeah, they call her the Lamb, and Booker DeWitt is your false prophet. The reveal for why he's directly the false prophet to me is still really cool. But this also leads to me what is like the first big negative to me of this game, and it is we have to talk about in comparison to Bioshock 1, and it is that Zachary Comstock is a much less compelling villain than Andrew Ryan is.
You mean Father Colonel Sanders?
Colonel Sanders. I would even say, in comparing all the Bioshocks, a less compelling villain than Sophia Lamb.
Yikes.
Just because I don't know. Sophia Lamb is a lot. I've seen Comstock before. Do you know what I mean? I've seen this. I've read this character before. I've seen this character before.
It's like, Jan, what you got else? You know?
Yeah. Everything surrounding Comstock is super interesting. Like when you get into the stuff of like who he really is and where he came from, and like the stuff to me in like the Hall of Heroes of like of him being like the stolen valor ID and whatnot, even though that's not what it is, but that stuff is very compelling. Everything surrounding Comstock is really compelling. Comstock himself, not that interesting of a villain. Whereas someone like Andrew Ryan, or even not Atlas, that's his fake identity.
Vince Fontaine?
Yeah, Fontaine. Fontaine is also a very compelling villain in that story to me as well, because it's like he's based in historical fact, in that he's sort of like an Al Capone type, but that's interesting to do in a game too. Whereas like Comstock, again, just like the religious zealot thing, we've done this 100 fucking times.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe that's just because we're oversaturated with like religious zealots.
That's true. There's enough of them in reality that we're just gonna like seen it.
Yeah, kind of like.
Yeah. I know this guy. He runs my church. Let's just fucking.
Yeah, he's a little more dialed up than I think the religious zealots that we have in real life, but not by that much.
Not really, not anymore. No. No, Newt Gingrich is fucking working on a Sky City right now. Like, it's fucking happening.
Is he really?
No, I'm just assuming he's crazy, and I'm assuming he would do something like that.
I was like, really?
No, this is the dude who was all about like getting our first base on the moon. So,
Hey.
which is just like, and why would you want to do something like that? So that to me is one of the bigger glaring issues that I found in the game, especially on this playthrough, was kind of like, he's not that exciting of a villain, which is probably why he wasn't really featured a lot in this game, actually. Like key points, key points he came in to like introduce stuff and like when his narration was needed. But other than that, it wasn't as like compelling as, I keep saying compelling because it's the only one I can think of right now, but it wasn't as like the first Bioshock 1, that first moment where you get locked into that thing and all the TV screens just show Andrew Ryan's face.
Yeah.
And he's just like, so which of the dogs sent you here? Was it the KGB, FBI? Like,
yeah.
Well, you
just like knew what that villain was like right off the bat.
Immediately.
It was just like, boom, all business. What are you here for? What are you gonna do? You know, like,
and there was something really, really nefarious and terrifying about that too.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, it was just like, I am scared of the power this man has, but I'm not scared of him, if that makes sense.
Yeah. He was, like, his power was derived from, like, everything around him.
Yes.
Instead of him just being powerful.
Yeah.
Because by the time that you get to him, and spoilers for the end, you get to him, and, like, you just kill him. You just take him out.
Yeah. To which arguably isn't the parallel from Bioshock 1, though, because when you finally confront Andrew Ryan, he doesn't he doesn't. The man is not going to. Even if he didn't have the mechanic of like the way that Bioshock 1 works with the whole like, you know, would you kindly mechanic there too, I don't think Andrew Ryan's putting up a fight. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but then you got to go fight the other guy. So,
but then you got to go fight the other guy, which
turns out to be the bigger, badder villain.
The bigger, badder. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, which version? This is a whole other episode, but like, which version of Rapture is better? The one under Andrew Ryan or the one under Fontaine? Like, but that's like the first big glaring issue to me. The other one that I noticed, and I'm sure you could probably feel this one too, is that combat in this one, and I feel like this is one that kind of goes through a lot of the Bioshock games, but it was most prevalent to me in this one, is that after a while combat gets kind of samey.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not in like a fun like, oh, I get to do this again kind of way, like with like a Halo or something like that. It's more like, it's just like, go here, hit these figures, do this, and then we move on to the next fucking area.
I guess I recognize that now that you're saying it, but I guess I wouldn't have felt that way, but maybe that's just because that's how I feel about FPSs.
Which is fair.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's just kind of how it goes.
There are some FPSs that just like, no matter what, you're gonna, it's the, I think it's the Bungie philosophy where it's kind of like you only have like 5 minutes of fun in playing a game. It's just how you repeat that 5 minutes over and over and over again, and make sure the player doesn't feel like that they're doing the same thing over and over again. You make it feel varied for them. Yeah. Just didn't quite have that polish to it. And that when it did try to change it up, it was very obvious. Like, oh look, we've introduced this totally new vigor that you could use here, or here's a decoy, or like this area you can only pick up sniper rifles. Oh, I wonder what we want you to do here. And it's just like, you're not really like, I don't know.
It's like heavy-handed.
Very heavy-handed in the way they kind of want you to approach parts of the game.
Steering.
I get that. Not that it makes you go that way, because I just ignored the sniper rifles in this fucking game this time too, because I was like, no, there's no point.
Yeah.
Mostly because I was playing it on easy, and I could shoot a guy in the head with a machine gun from a mile away, and it didn't matter. So
nice.
Yeah,
I guess I think there was like a little bit of variety, and it was kind of made fun in those areas where you had like the skyline that was going around.
That's one of my positive things. That the sky hooks are super fun to play around
with the skyline, so cool.
That stuff is really fun.
Yeah. It makes you feel like a superhero almost.
Yeah.
It
did, and that's something else too that I realized is that I really like the difference between Booker DeWitt and Jack from Bioshock 1. Whereas that Jack was a survivor trying to figure out how to get the fuck out of Rapture. Booker is a soldier.
Yeah, he came to fuck shit up.
Which is, to me, really, really well shown in that first part in the beginning of the game when it's you go to the raffle. Like, by the way, a lot of, another heads up too, a lot of, like, racist tones.
I have that as one of my negatives, is the overt racism.
It's a lot of overt racism.
Not coming from the game designers, like they put it in
there.
No.
It's in there to make a point because the time is set in
1912.
1912. Thank you. So we're still, well, we're not. It is a time period that wishes that they had stopped before the Civil War. Is kind of the area we're working in here. If that makes sense.
Exactly. Because yeah, because Bioshock, Rapture and Bioshock 1 and 2,
yes,
are set in like the 1920s. I want to say,
yeah, something like that.
This feels older.
Yeah, this is older. This is definitely older.
But they were pulling from the philosophies of like people around like their contemporaries.
Yes,
and this Columbia and Bioshock Infinite, they went back further.
Yeah.
They went way back.
Yeah.
They were what was Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin and George Washington? What were those guys up to? Yeah, we like them.
Yeah. This is like we're Bioshock 1 and 2 are taking the ideas of like, it's, as Ken Levine said, just kind of like wanted to take the ideas of Ayn Rand and put them into like practicum and see how that works. This is what a society would truly be like if they were like, no, only what the founding fathers said and what they wanted.
Right.
This is what that society would look like. Yeah. And it turns out it's fucking bleak if you're not white.
Yeah.
As it turns out, crazy, because one of the first things you get in the game, you get involved in this raffle, and you have to, you pick a ball out, your number gets called, and then it turns out you get what's called the first pitch. And then you are presented with what you assume was two people who attempted to be an interracial couple. They tried to get to a white guy and a black woman who obviously tried to get married, as depicted through some really, really fucked up caricatures that are surrounding them when they get tied up to a stake. And you are told to throw the first pitch. The guy running the raffle makes some gross comment about about you being hesitant to throw because do you take your coffee?
Are you taking your coffee
black these
now?
days? And you're just kind of like, okay, never has a decision been so easy in a game for me to want to throw the ball at the motherfucker who said that.
Yeah. But
it's good, and I get it. It's very, very heavy-handed, but I think it sets what it does for me in that moment, too, is just, like, I feel like this is going to be our first argument. Like, just, like, disagreement here, was that I think what that moment does well, and by the way, very quickly here, I want to address, when we talk about these racial tone things, I understand that there's going to be a level of tone deafness coming from both of us, as we are both white men. So, I'm going to try to broach some of this stuff as carefully as I can, and understand that this stuff probably hits other people. Some of this subject matter hits people of color very, very differently than it hits us. So as far as that tone deafness goes, I am not trying to be insensitive, and I just want to say that I apologize ahead of time for anything that comes out here. But storyline wise, what I think it does well there is that you spend that first part of the game going through the city. Everything kind of seems like almost at a cheesy level of like hunky dory. There's a couple little hints if you pay attention to the conversation that sets a tone for something a little bit more bleak. But that is the first real hint you get in the game. It's kind of like, oh, no. There's something fucking wrong here beyond what's happening with, like, Elizabeth and Comstock and whatnot. Did they need to go that way with it? Maybe not, but I also feel like that, like, by not addressing that tone for something like that, you're not addressing the time as well. Is that, like, that kind of shit was happening, unfortunately, still. Right. Like, and just, like, on the ground level in America. So it's, like, to set it in that, and to make the intentionalist thing in that time period in terms of, like, discussing this subject matter, I feel like not addressing that shit would be a misstep. Did they maybe did they kind of miss it in their approach of it a little bit? For sure, I would agree with that. However, I think it's very important to have it there.
Because on a certain level, like, all of those, like, negative racial stereotypes and depictions and everything, they had to be created for the game.
True.
And at a certain point, it's like, okay, do we need to be... Can we make the point without doing all of that?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Is like where I would say no, you know?
Yeah.
Because, like, especially when you're going through, like, the Hall of Heroes, because you have, like, just every stereotype.
Yeah.
And, like, negative thing. It's like fucking Pierce Hawthorne from Community.
Yeah,
designed
it's true.
that place.
Oh, it's fucking
so
true.
bad. It's so bad. And I just don't know that we needed all of that to make the points that we wanted to make.
Which is fair. And the only thing that I can really say in defense of that, especially in the Hall of Heroes, is that the game is very, very trying not to glorify this kind of, like, approach and stuff.
Absolutely.
It is definitely saying just like,
Absolutely
this is a period of time that we should not forget, but definitely learn from and move past.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Since we're talking about
please,
one
go
thing
for
that I think that was also kind of like the mark was kind of missed in terms of things was, well, we should explain a little. The group of people that are, like, rebelling against...
Oh, the Vox Machina.
Vox Populi.
Vox Populi. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Get your Critical Role out of here.
Oh, yeah. It's even in my notes as Vox Machina. Vox
Matt
Populi.
Mercer, you've done it again.
You've got me, you son of a bitch.
Exactly.
Vox Populi. That's what it is in this game.
Yeah. So the prevailing group that is rebelling against Comstock and all of his leaders are the Vox Populi.
Yeah.
And they are primarily people of color and sympathizers.
Yes.
That are fighting against the powers that be.
Yeah.
Later on, because you kind of go, like, back and forth. You're, like, fighting against Comstock alone, and then you kind of do, like, an errand for the Vox Populi. But you're kind of like, yeah, you guys, like, things are kind of really fucked up for you. You know, so there's, like, some commiserating.
Yeah.
But then later on, through some jumping through space and time BS.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of just kind of like, and we're kind of in a different, like, world than this.
Right.
Like, the idea is like you could sort of, like, in the middle of shit, go, like, Elizabeth has the ability to step into a world in which that different decisions were made, basically, is what it works out to.
Anyways, you get to a point where you enter a reality where Booker died for the cause of the Vox Populi. So then you come back and you're walking around, and the leader of the Vox Populi is like, I saw you die, so either you're a ghost or you're an imposter. Either way, I don't fucking like you. And then is against you. And then you fight the Vox Populi for a while. And then after that, there's like some comment made about how, wow, guess they're not too different after all. Maybe they're all bad. And and that's just not, no.
Yeah.
Like, no.
It was, I think the idea, and this isn't me defending how it goes. I think this was the approach they were trying to go for here. And this is only based on like watching interviews and like reading stuff about like how Ken Levine works and like his philosophy behind the interpretation of the game, and like even going back to Bioshock 1 and whatnot, is that it's like you cannot replace one extreme ideology with another one. And so this is going from the idea here I think he was going for was like going from basically extreme theocracy to to the other side to just like, I don't know, I guess extreme socialism, even though that doesn't totally make sense because he's not pushing for communism. It's not, that's not what it's going for.
No.
But it's just like, it's
just maybe equality.
Maybe equality.
Maybe. Just maybe not subjugation.
Yeah, not subjugation. But yeah, and so it's just like, I think I get what they were going for, but doing that and putting particularly the leader of your other movement as a woman of color in charge of that, and then turning her into a villain.
Yeah, it's not the one for me.
Not major.
Not the one for me.
Major misstep on that one.
Yeah.
Major misstep on that one. Because you can make the argument that like an extremist group like that would eventually kind of go past what their original goal was. Primarily through the interference of an outside party that didn't need to be there. Not like that's never happened in real life, not looking at the Middle East. Anyway. But just like, I don't know, that part is not well handled, and it kind of gives it.
It's not my favorite.
And then throughout the rest of the game, when the Vox Pipeline show up and are doing bad shit, it kind of gives a tone of it's kind of like, this didn't need to do it this way. Don't know why you wanted to go this route with it. This doesn't work. This doesn't feel good anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. Why couldn't we have teamed up and like overthrown the terrible Theocracy?
Yeah.
Was that not an option? I don't know.
I don't know
either. I think it's a supreme misstep.
It really, really is, and I can't pretend that it's not. It really is.
I have like one more thing that I question.
Please, let's go for it.
Like the super topic is like the logic of some of the things that are happening.
Yeah.
And then like subcategory, the thing that I dislike the most is the mechanical George Washingtons that fight you.
They're annoying. They're annoying as shit.
No. It's not just that they're annoying. It's not like, oh, as a player, I hate this enemy. I'm saying, why do they exist in the world of the game?
I don't know. To me, that here's the thing. I grew up in a military family. I've seen the propaganda. That doesn't seem like totally out of the realms of possibility to me, if I'm being totally honest.
But like,
someone at the Pentagon has fucking pitched that idea. Just like, what if we made robot founding fathers? And they shot people.
Good Lord, I hope not.
It wouldn't fucking surprise me.
I really mean it though. Like, they have like the police force, and they have like other security systems in place. Yeah. But it's supposed to be this kind of idyllic society, so why do we need mechanized killer George Washington?
Well, I would say for that personally, it doesn't totally argue against it because you do have the police force there and whatnot. But it's a very idyllic society for some people, and when you grow up with a certain amount of privilege, there's some things like police brutality and whatnot that kind of sit in your blind spot, and you don't recognize them as being weird. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, I think with something like this, if you grew up in Colombia, you'd be like, yeah, of course there's mechanical George Washingtons walking around. That just makes sense.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
I guess a way that... I guess I would have liked to have seen them to know how they existed in, like, ideal, quote-unquote, Colombia. Yeah. Because you see, like, the first one, I think, in, like, the Hall of Presidents or whatever that first-ish area that you go through is. And there's, like, some there, and they have, like, the flags that look like wings attached. Yeah. And then they kind of come to life and start attacking you. So in that instance, it's like, okay, like, this one location has them because they would be there. Yeah. And they could act as, like, guards or whatever. Yeah. But then they show up everywhere else throughout the rest of the game. So, like, where are they coming from? Why do they exist everywhere?
Yeah, that to me just kind of works in, like, video game logic at a certain point.
Which is
where it's
to
just
say
like,
no logic at all.
no. I mean, like you introduce a mechanic of you introduce a certain type of enemy as a mechanic in the game, and therefore once introduced, it can just kind of show up anywhere after that at that point.
Yeah. But just going off of like logic, there's definitely some other like gaps and like holes that I just question. Like jumping through the different realities, like it's always perfectly convenient. Like, oh, we need to go somewhere else. Here's a tear.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of clunky to me. And then just, like, some of the, like, differences and similarities between the jump, you know? And like, how many worlds did we go through? Were there, like, 2 and we were going back and forth? Or were there, like, 3 or 4? Like, it just gets a little, like, the plot gets a little...
On this playthrough, I got the idea that we were jumping through multiple, like, different pathways each time. Yeah. So it wasn't like you were going back and forth between 2 or 3. It was like, by the time you get to the game, you've jumped, like, 4 different worlds, versions of Columbia, basically.
Yeah. And then... But then the thread that unravels the whole sweater at the end of the game is like, oh, well, if we just do this one thing... everything will be fine, and nothing subsequent will ever happen, even though we've established there's millions of worlds out there.
Well, to what that does, that gets addressed. I mean, this doesn't give any credence to the game, but that does get addressed through a couple of DLC things that got added on, in which that Elizabeth is literally going from is literally jumping between different worlds to kill Comstock in every other version that still exists.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense.
They do address it. It does come up.
Yeah.
But I think the idea for the game was that's like if you get
they left a glaring plot hole in the base game, so they made some DLC to tie that.
Well, I mean, it's like
up.
the idea is that like if you get him at the point at which that Comstock was created and where he was born at that moment.
Our technology is gonna just talk to us in every episode.
Yep, no matter what. You get to that moment in which that he is born, quote unquote. Like that is how you stop it at like out the gates.
Yeah. With that one Booker.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
There's like millions of worlds, like Elizabeth says.
Yeah, but if that's like this, if that's this, but if that's like, if you go to where the moment spawns for all of them, and you're existing sort of outside of the timeline.
So, okay. Before we get into this, let's put a pin in that.
Let's put a pin in it.
Let's talk about the end.
I think it's never going to make sense because it's timeline bullshit and like it all gets fucking muddled.
I agree.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the end because
let's go on and get into it.
We've skirted around it long enough and now it's time.
This is where we fully disagree.
Yes.
Completely disagree.
Jordan, would you like to state your platform?
Yes, the story is compelling and the ending is fucking great. That's my platform.
Here's my platform. The game is good. Gameplay mechanics, fine. The ending throws all of it out the window.
Wholeheartedly disagree.
It's 12 minutes, Jordan.
Yeah,
it's 12 full minutes.
You never played a Metal Gear Solid game?
Story. No, actually. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So 12 minutes ain't nothing is all I'm fucking saying.
And I'm saying it's too much.
I disagree. You just got off of a giant battle on the fucking airship.
Yes. A great penultimate battle, in fact.
And you're good. This is an epilogue, though.
It just didn't give, like, finality like I wanted. Plus... It
wasn't supposed to give finality. That was the point.
Having established a formula in Bioshocks 1 and 2, I felt like the ending left me wanting more.
Okay, when you say, hold on, what do you mean by establish a formula?
Established we're going to ramp up to, like, this big kind of final battle with, like, the final boss, the big bad guy at the end of the game. Mm-hmm. You get him, and then there's, like, a tiny epilogue at the end that wraps everything up nice, right? Mm-hmm. Instead, you get, like, big ramp up. You have a big sort of open battle where you're fighting a lot of different enemies.
Yes.
And then you have 12 full minutes of story that badly explains all of the loose ends of your story, and then there's no big bad boss fight at the end.
I don't think it badly explains it. I think it's wonky. But you're dealing with timeline shit. But you're dealing with different timeline shit. And I can't think of a single thing that does with like time travel or fucks with the timeline. I think that doesn't have an ending that's like wonky and explanation for how everything works.
I'm sure that Futurama has done it just fine. But that's just my opinion.
Okay, Futurama has done it fine, but they've done it in a way that like addresses how wonky and weird time travel is.
That's true.
So it's like, so even in their own mechanic, they go like, this doesn't make any sense. But yeah, it's fucking time travel. That's what I mean.
The thing for me is that ending tied up so many loose ends, and it could have been more spread out. I feel. Like, until we got to they saved, like, I feel like 4 or 5 reveals, or, like, maybe 3 or 4 reveals to the end, and it should have just been, like, the one big reveal. You know? It felt like we have so much to explain. It felt rushed. That was not even rushed. It takes 12 full minutes. But it felt like something was missing. I missed that big final boss fight with, like, Mecha Comstock, you know? And
You see, like, that to me personally is kind of what I like about that to me is what I like about that's not what it is. Because I feel like that there is a level you could take that to, that's the direction you're going in. But it's much more... It's a little bit more... complicated than that, because it's not just about like going and fighting some big mechanized version of Comstock at the end, or like doing some big boss battle at the end of it, because it is, and this is where I will agree that the game has issues functionally as a video game, is that it is much more focused on wrapping up those loose ends than it is having that satisfying ending. But I don't know, I personally really love the subverting expectations of having a satisfying ending. Because you're right, Bioshock 1 and 2, no matter which sort of like morality pathway you go to, does have a very complete, neat, finalized ending to it. This one doesn't, but I don't think it was just because it was a mess. I think they were kind of trying to go against that grain a little bit.
So let me throw something out there.
Sure, go for it, please.
Tell me how you think, because I think I would have enjoyed it more if the order had been different.
Okay.
Let me explain.
Sure.
Imagine this.
Yeah.
You have the big sky battle with the songbird and everything, right?
Yes.
And then instead of the next thing happening being you get to Comstock and you kill him, and then you have the 12 minutes of epilogue, instead of all of that, that's about the order, right?
No. You kill Comstock first, then you have the big fight on the airship.
Okay.
Sorry. That doesn't really matter, but just like, if we're talking about this,
okay.
that.
But go with me.
Imagine, I'm with you.
Imagine, if you will, that didn't happen. Instead, you, and I might be messing and moving some other things around.
No, go for it.
Out of whack by doing this, but go with me.
Sure.
So you have the big final, like, open sky battle with the songbird and everything. Then you get to, like, start traveling through the doors and, like, learn kind of more of that story that gets revealed, like, that she's actually his daughter, and that he gave her up, and that's why she lost her finger, and like all of that. Then you get to Comstock. You take him out. You don't have the big boss fight, but like that's the crux of it. That's where you take him out.
Yeah.
And then you travel some more, and then they do the big reveal where you find out that Booker is him. And then she drowns him, and then that's the end. Because, and I'll tell you why.
Sure.
The 12 minutes makes me feel like something's coming. We're ramping up to something more because we're doing so much story.
Yeah.
But then it never comes, and that's why I'm left, like, wanting more. I'm disappointed a little bit. If it had been, like, story, and then, boom, we got Comstock not in the way you expected.
Yeah.
We didn't do that. We didn't do the big satisfying boss fight, but we got him. And then a couple minutes of like, and here's how it really wraps up. Done. I think I would like that a lot more.
That's fair, and I get that. And that makes, yeah. My only argument against that, though, is that then it's just like, then it's...
I'm saying
it's literally just reordering the events and how you experience them.
I'm saying I was teased, and I don't appreciate it. That's all I'm saying.
But that's why I loved it, though. Again, I think this is where we get into just like the difference of like the event, because I loved that. I love here's just a little bit of insight on me, right? One of my favorite moments in film history is the 4th Harry Potter movie. Yeah, Goblet of Fire. That's the one that starts with the Quidditch game, I think.
Starts with the Quidditch. Yes.
Yeah, because they're like
the World Cup.
Yeah, the World Cup. They're basically going to the World Cup thing and whatnot. Uh-huh. And the movie has this huge buildup. You sit there. The fucking the Prime Minister or the fuck he is of the wizarding community. What's his name comes out. I forget what they're fucking
The Minister
called.
of Magic.
Minister of Magic, thank you. Comes out, does his speech about how important the World Cup is and blah, 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 blah. Show the crowd, you've shown the team flying around and whatnot. He throws his wand in the air, the sparks fly out. He's like, let the games begin. And right as the players hit the field, they cut to after the game. And I remember watching it in theaters and hearing everyone go, what? And I was just like, awesome. I love setting up expectation and then going, nope! It's like my favorite thing to do to an audience.
You're a sadist.
Yes! Hi, my name is Jordan. It's good to meet you, I guess? No. Like, how long have you fucking... Yeah. Cruelty is my fucking bag.
No.
And there's just, especially when, like, the mechanics of a story, there's something so nice about, like, setting up, like you said, setting up the idea of getting that satisfying ending and then just going, nah, nope.
They still could have done that in the same building blocks that they had.
I don't see how changing the order of where you encounter Comstock is going to change the feeling there, though.
To me, it changes it.
because then it's like you go through the whole fight, you go through a bunch of more story bullshit, you have one interaction with them, and then it's like, oh, that was it? It's not even like, at least feeling-wise for this one, it's like you have your encounter with Comstock, you go, what the fuck was that? And then you still have a fight after that, too.
I'm just saying I was ready to fight Mecha Comstock.
They pulled out Mecha Comstock, I would have deleted the game.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if they had ramped up into the actual final confrontation with Comstock, which turned out to not be a boss fight.
Yeah.
At least they were still ramping up to something.
Yeah.
To something. Not what you expected, but something. And then said, here's the actual, like, final piece of the puzzle that you need. Wrapped it up. End of the game. End credits.
Well, I mean, part of that to me too was that it's like, to me, the fun in that too was that it's like you think that that's going to be the final moment of the game is encountering Comstock and either killing him or having the conversation and seeing how that goes and whatnot. Because typically in a game you encounter the final boss, and then that's it. You're done essentially. But and going in the theme of, especially with Bioshock 1, in that when you finally get to Andrew Ryan, we're not done yet. That wasn't all that was happening here. Like killing Andrew Ryan did not stop what was happening in Rapture.
Right.
There was a lot more going on in Columbia. There was a lot more happening, particularly between Booker and Elizabeth, beyond just them getting to Comstock and killing him, is what I'm saying. So it's like you have that moment where you think just like, this is it. We're gonna fight the final baddie, and then you kill him, and there's nothing. But you're also now left with more questions.
Right. And then there's more rising action, and then you fight a boss.
Yeah. I don't see where the issue is there.
Because the last 12 minutes of story feels like rising action. That's why it is.
Yeah, you build that momentum to take it away. You're acting like this isn't a mechanic in storytelling. You're acting like there isn't an entire fucking play called Waiting for Godot that is entirely that.
Oh, don't.
That is nothing but that. It is nothing but that.
Don't bring Brecht into this
discussion. I will 100% bring Brecht into this shit.
I didn't like it. I was left wanting more than what I got.
And here's the thing.
But not enough to be like, wow, when's the DLC coming out? You know, like.
And see, just like, I honestly have the same feeling, but I enjoy that feeling.
Okay, well.
I love an intentional, unsatisfying ending. And that ending is you can't pretend it's not intentionally done that way. You can't pretend it's not.
No.
You're not meant to walk away from that going, and I feel great about that. Like, that's not the feeling they're trying to leave you with. No. Especially if you stick around after the credits.
There's nothing after the credits. What's after the credits?
So,
Oh, Lord.
Since we're getting there on time, this is... Yeah.
Because 12 minutes wasn't enough.
And this is going to make you mad.
Oh, no.
Because it's just more unsatisfying shit. So, after the credits, you kind of see the first-person perspective sort of like blink awake, and you're back in the office again, in Booker's office. But now everything's in color and everything looks okay, and you kind of go like, what the hell? Like, obviously everything has happened. And then that other door, not the main door that has his name on it, the other one where the kids' room is in it. You just kind of slowly go, Anna, and open the door, and then it cuts to black.
It doesn't make me that mad.
Okay, fair enough.
It doesn't make me that mad.
You don't like it, though, do you?
Because that could be anything.
It could be anything, and that's what I liked about it. It could be anything. It could literally be anything. I feel like we've done, much like Bioshock Infinite, we've done a lot in this episode, but somehow accomplished nothing.
Yeah, truly. I'm glad that you finally admit it.
I admit that that's what happens in the game, but I don't think it's not without intent.
You can do something with intent, and it can still be the wrong decision.
And that's fine, but that is to me where, okay, but that is also, to sort of like wrap this up a little bit here.
Yeah.
This to me has to be the definitive proof that video games are art. Because it's like the best art has the biggest discourse around it, where like half the people watch it go. It's like an Ari Aster fucking movie. It's like half the people who like Midsommar and Hereditary.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, I forget that I can't just like name people and you go like, yep, know who that is.
You certainly cannot.
No, but like particularly with his movies and his style, it's like you ask like I loved Midsommar and Hereditary. My buddy Mike at work, who's a huge film buff, will watch fucking anything, can't stand his fucking movies. And I can't say that I don't understand why he doesn't like his movies, but I think that's better. We're just like, or even like to use like the Brechtian shit, like Samuel Beckett with like something like that. Half the theater people I know love Waiting for Godot. The other half fucking cannot stand that play. They hate it. Mm-hmm. But that's what when you have that discourse and you can have a conversation like this where we are disagreeing, but still being respectful and cool about it, and the fact that we have different opinions on it, is like, that to me is where you get the better stuff, because then it pushes stuff, and then you make people kind of go like, you kind of make creators kind of look at shit differently and go like, okay, well, how can we do it this way, so that way for people like you who want more of that kind of want a different style, they know how to do shit more for you. And then for people like me who like this kind of shit, they're like, okay, well now we know that this is the style that they like, and we can go that way. And it's like, it's flawed and it's messy and it's clunky, but that to me is where some of the best art comes from, is when it's like you're just kind of like, and Bioshock Infinite to me is a prime example of like, at a certain point it's like, let's just kind of throw shit at the wall and see how it sticks. And, maybe not everything that sticks is something that should have made it in or should have stayed.
Right.
But I still applaud a video game for trying to do something as complex and with a theme and a tone like this, for doing something like this. I still applaud it, even though I have to admit it is a very clunky mess of a story. I will admit to that, with a lot of problematic issues along with it. I will 100%.
Yeah.
There's like, even in just the few years like that have passed since the game came out, so there's a lot of stuff that is like, why did we do that?
Why was that the choice?
Yeah.
8 years.
8 years, in fact. Yes, 8 years. Only took 8 years for me to go, ooh.
So just to kind of put a button on the end of this,
yes,
like my response to your ending, I agree that like you can do something like Brecht, like Waiting for Godot.
Yeah.
And people are gonna love it or they're gonna hate it, right? Sure. I think I'm thrown because for the first 90% of the game, it's Hamilton, and then it's Waiting for Godot. That's what's throwing, and like,
okay,
upsetting for me. Yeah,
I could see that. Around the time that you start fighting the Vox Populi, there's a bit of a shift in terms of like what the game was doing. So I could see that.
Yeah, it's just like we were one thing and then it's a complete left turn.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. It's still fine. I can still admit that the gameplay is good. The story's a mess. The story's a mess. It's not like Kingdom Hearts mess, but it's not.
I can tell you what happened in Bioshock Infinite.
Yeah.
Off of a playthrough. Like,
it's like the Zelda timeline.
Yeah. It's
a little bit worse than the Zelda timeline.
Oh, no.
I can walk you through and have the Zelda timeline.
Yeah, and I got very mad in some of those moments.
And I get very mad at Bioshock Infinite. It's all the same.
At least there wasn't... Look, Bioshock 2 wasn't just a fish's dream, all right? At least we didn't have that. I'm sorry, you were talking about timeline being a fucking mess.
That one just didn't happen. It's fine.
But it did happen though. It was a whole ass game that happened.
Nope. Just like the after credit scene in Bioshock Infinite, Booker DeWitt woke up. None of it ever happened. It all happened inside his head.
That's not what happened. That's not what they were saying with the ending.
You can't say that.
Not what they were saying.
That ending now makes you more mad than me.
It doesn't though. No, I'm mad at you right now. Trust me, this ain't restricted at you, Brendan Hampton, a human being.
And that makes me happy.
Thank you guys so much for listening to our episode on Bioshock Infinite and watching us bicker and fight a little bit. Hope you still enjoyed it. Please let us know your thoughts on Bioshock Infinite. Is it as interesting of an art piece and an exploration of human theology and whatnot as I think it is? Or is it just a clunky mess of too many ideas being thrown out the wall at once like Brendan thinks it is? Please let us know.
And as always, if you have any ideas for future discussions that we can have on our show, you can send us an email at 3VOpodcastteam@gmail.com and you can give us your ideas. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, all at 3VO Podcast. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe to our show. It really makes a difference, and we'll see you next time. Bye.